virtual journal that we are having some ideas for the day, putting there, we are sharing it, we are collaborating, and this is the event that is starting right now in about 2 minutes. We are all prepared to hear Sylvia, and we keep going with a 24-hour celebration of Grey Swan Guilds. Sylvia, happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Augustine, and congrats, Sean. Congrats for the first session. It was wonderful from this morning to hear people from all over the world.
Thank you. It was a good one.
So yeah, in a couple of minutes, we'll start with the journaling activity.
Can you share the screen?
Yeah, I'm just doing that. You will let me know if you can see it.
We've been collaborating for the past 3 hours now, uploading some content into this document. Happy that I'm chiming with some few words and probably a couple of pictures. And I think it's a great initiative to document the day throughout the 24-hour sense-making session.
Thank you, Augustine. Thank you for the nice intro. I will be joined by Nicola. I see that Nicola should be there too. Maybe one technical question. Augustine, can you make her co-host, or should I do that from my computer?
I don't think she needs to be a co-host, Sylvia. I think all the functionality should be there for you guys.
Okay.
But you can prove me wrong.
That should be good. I think I can now see you, Nicola. So maybe we can just briefly introduce each other to the audience so that you know. So Nicola and I are both Grey Swan Guild member. I joined Grey Swan Guild 1 year ago. I'm a futurist. And Nicola, you want to say a few words about yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicola Brown, and I joined Grey Swan Guild last summer and am engaged in the sense making and excited to be here today with you.
Wonderful. So we will be conducting a virtual journaling activity. You've probably seen this a little before on our social media in the beginning of other sessions. So I think that's where it all starts. If you click at the bottom of that slide, you see there's a Google Doc link. So I would invite you to open that link, and that's the exact document I'm in. So we will all be in the same document. The document is open for everybody. You should be able to collaborate, edit, and I will give you maybe a few rules before we start. So what we'll be doing is mainly a collective time capsule, a time capsule of the day and a time capsule of the year. So there are some activities, some prompts that are more directed towards remembering today. So you can do things all along the day, like try to capture some moments you enjoy in other sessions or in that sessions. There will be some activities we will be doing with Nicola, who is our Chief Gratitude Officer. And then there are some activities that are really reflecting from all over the year. So let me introduce you just some guidelines as we are starting, because not everybody might be familiar with what journaling is about. So journaling is not exactly like a diary. Usually it's more graphic. There's a lot of graphics included. It can be pictures, it can be drawings, it can be tickets from restaurants, it can be whatever you want to include. It can be caricatures, it can be comics, it can be poetic thoughts. So we will include all of this. The only thing is we will be doing it digitally because we are not, unfortunately, in the presence of each other. But the good thing is we can then, each of us have a copy of it. So that's the good thing. A few guidelines. So please feel free to share as much as you want. We'll explain that this space is safe for all of you to share. You can share ideas, memories, imagery, emotions, messages, maybe future visions as well, poetic thoughts. If there's not enough space, feel free really to duplicate the pages and to add other pages. The idea is that you don't feel constrained with the space. So that's also the good thing with the digital format. You can add pages. Please just avoid erasing other contributions. We really want it to be additions and not subtractions. And of course, use any format you want. And last word, and then I will leave it to Nicola to really launch it. Have fun during the experience. Oh yeah, maybe just before we start, that would be wonderful if you can pin where you are located in the world, because at the end of the day, that will be really interesting for us to see how much impact or kind of impact we have all over the world. So maybe we can start from here. You can take one of the little pin in the top corner and either copy paste it or move it to your location. So I see for now we are already North America centric. It might change throughout the day also. Okay, and as you do that, we will start with the gratitude journal. So Nicola, here to you.
All right. So we do gratitude and journaling, not just for the act of remembering, but also for the health benefits that it has on us as individuals and as people. And so let's take a moment and think about, by looking around your current, I'm looking around too, looking around your current space and seeing, what are you grateful for in this moment? And feel free to pop that either in the chat, letting us know, what are you grateful for? What are some things that are coming to mind? We're a small enough group that we can talk.
Hi, I'm grateful for so many things, but I'm largely grateful for my health, and that I have a comfortable place to work and be during the pandemic, and that I have financial security, just basic things that a lot of people are struggling with.
Thank you for sharing. So tapping into your senses, what do you love to eat or love to watch? Or when you smell it, it brings a smile to your face. Or maybe it's something that you touch that you are innately grateful for, that you can pop into the document or voice over. Citrus as a smell, yes. The smell of spring. Pizza has such a lovely smell, Rob. Thanks for bringing that one up. I love the smell of potato personally, like any form of potato always brings a smile to me. And I love the texture of silk. Awesome. We have a lot of pizza lovers in the guild, I'm seeing.
The smell of a real Italian pizza. I miss that.
Totally understand that. Okay. So moving forward to our next slide. What did not exist 1 year ago that is a regular part of your daily life now? What comes to mind? Mm. Thank you for dropping that piece of photo in on that page. We're shaping it up. So what's a part of our lives now that wasn't regular a year ago? So Uber Eats, pets that control the house, Zoom call. Okay. How about working from home? Sylvia, we're on slide 9 currently. Thank you.
Yes, sorry.
Mask. How could we forget that we shifted to wearing masks and all the many varieties that exist of them? I know that I cook a lot more than I did a year ago. So thank you for engaging and reflecting and journaling with words and photos with regards to the different variations of things that we're grateful for. And one of the things about what we're grateful for are those are the things that are supporting us through this unprecedented time. They've kept us sane as we navigate. And so please continue adding as things come to mind. And we are now going to transition to our slide, the variations of swan, where you can now share your favorite swan picture, drawing, or painting.
Is that Escher who did that? That's nice.
Escher-like.
So if you feel you are an artist inside and you want to express more things around this one, feel free to add it also later on. I tried myself with painting, for example, if you want to do a painting, a drawing, or to use ink or whatever, and you want to paste it here already, feel free to add to it. That would be a nice collection of swan from our swanners. And then we'll move on to slide 11. So we took a few headshots from this morning. I hope you don't mind. If you're not comfortable with having your face here, you can of course remove it. You can replace it if you want. So what we would like also is to have your face in action on a picture. I think it's quite interesting to try to capture what we're seeing is a representative face of someone as they are talking. You can put faces of others, you can put face of yourself. The idea is also to see the multiplicity of people that are composing the guild, and also that we come from all over the world and all over ages also. So that's interesting for us to have kind of a composition of who we are. And then we'll move on to slide 12. Okay. So what we've been doing, we've been reflecting a lot about the home and the home as a new office space also this past year. We had different projects within the guild or outside of the guild with guild members around the home, which is a topic really dear to my heart. So this is a collective composition. I just took some pictures from our database that some of our members shared, which I think are quite interesting. On the one on the left, you might recognize a sewing machine. You see what meetings and aperitif have become like in the second picture. I think that's Sean, or maybe I shouldn't say who is it, but there's kind of a very nice deck with a nice background, not a virtual background, an actual background. Some people are building a Zen room with their family. Some people are building some areas in their garden. So if you think your home also changed in interesting way, you repurpose some rooms maybe, or you designed new products, feel free to let us know how your new office look like, how your new home looks like. Everything is mostly in one slide. I will duplicate it. So if you want to add to it, I will duplicate and remove a few pictures so you can add your own. This, for example. I'm sure you must have in your archives from this year a few pictures that are, if you feel comfortable sharing them, that you might want us to see. Nicola, maybe you want to tell us a little about your own journey this year, and maybe you changed home, or what happened? What would you like to share with us?
So the pandemic shifted what home and work looked like for a lot. And so I was joking with you that we're always at work, most that are home. And for me, that also meant thinking about who became in your bubble. So one of the things that we're writing about right now is like our home and our office, but there was a certain point in 2020 that we created bubbles. And that's how we knew that we could continue seeing the same group of people because they were following the same guidelines and safety measures so that we could see each other. And I decided to be in the bubble with my parents during this time so that I could be near them and not have to worry about what was taking place with them, as did several of my colleagues and friends that moved from the West Coast to the East Coast, or the East Coast to the West Coast, or from the Midwest to the South. And so as we have transitioned during this pandemic, there's been a lot that has stayed the same, as well as a lot that has shifted and changed as well.
Thank you for sharing about this. Anybody else want to share about the experience this year, about the meaning of home, if it changed for them?
Or maybe telling us about how did you create your quarantine bubble? Because at some point we all had to quarantine, even though some places have started to open back up.
Maybe I can tell you about my own bubble experience. On slide 12 on the top corner, that's actually my husband and my kids. We created a Zen area in our living room. We felt like we needed a space, and there has been a lot of exchange between moms, families about ideas during the quarantine, and I wanted to test this one. So we created a Zen bubble within our home. We were talking about senses right before, so we put on music, we put on incense, we put on like lectures, drawing, coloring books, and pillows. And I admit, when I see back that picture, it reminds me not just about how my home looks like, but how it felt like. So I think also like taking these pictures and remembering this moment, it's all one same thing. Like it really evokes that very specific moment in time. I see pictures arriving on the slide. It's beautiful. And going from our home, maybe we can move to a day in our life during this pandemic. Nicola, you want to guide us on this one?
Well, many people have said that they lost track of the days of the week during the pandemic. So you have no clue what day we're on because every day looks the same. Because there would used to be a demarcation of this is what a weekend means, but now we don't know because everything is digital. And once there's free time, folks have been inclined to work. So think about, what does your day look like? Have you started work later, or are you starting work earlier? Are you eating more nutritious meals because you are home? Are you working later into the day? So you might start early, but are you working later because of the convenience of everything being right at your fingertips? And if you have any photos of your Zoom calls, your hop-in calls, there's so many platforms that we have been introduced to during this time. A day in the life would look really cool if we had photos of the different things that we've been doing. So reading books, reconnecting with nature. Drop some photos in of what comes to mind as you're thinking, what has a day in your life looked like? And knowing that no 2 days have really looked the same in the pandemic.
I'm going back a few slides to see the additions that are appearing on our slide, because I see beautiful swans. I think someone found a pattern generator.
Mhm.
I love the viral reflections. It's beautiful. Faces. I will move that home maybe to the next slide here, so we see it better. And if you have pictures also from the different seasons, because it has been 4 seasons. When we talk about a year, we think as a continuum, but this has been 4 seasons of pandemic. It's also interesting to see the variations of how we live the pandemic in the different times of the year. Now I want explanation on this one.
That's so funny, Sylvia, because I've just gone through mine, going through my photographs, and I can't tell you how many pictures there were of my toes. Those are not my toes.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the different of habits also in the things we used to take picture of and pictures we are now taking. And I think I saw on one of our slides, someone taking a picture of their arm with the vaccine. I think that's the new selfie, like showing you have your vaccine down. That's you, Rob. I think it's quite interesting to see how we express ourselves, like showing our face with the mask. Also the importance of our eyes. I just saw recent statistics on makeup, how we've been using makeup, and the fact that all the digital application around trying makeup are around the eyes, like the importance of the eyes, because you couldn't see so much the rest of the face. We'll be talking a little later about selfies and self-portraits if you're interested in that topic. Also, if you have like comic story of the pandemic, I think we would love to read that. That's a nice one. Okay, as time passes by, you can of course continue to populate these slides, and we will move on to the next slide. So moving a little from the personal maybe to the more universal, what happened in the world this year. I have here to thank Rob for starting a wonderful initiative within Grey Swan Guild. First of all, for starting Grey Swan Guild with Sean and Andrea, but also for starting a newer initiative, which is the weekly news wrap. So we've been now doing this for 3 months. And what we try to do is make sense of the world in real time by each week reading throughout hundreds of articles. We're a small team of 6 now, hopefully 8 very soon. And we try to organize what we read into 4 categories: the great, the good, the bad, and unfortunately the ugly. We also try to add memes and also videos of the week. We love also to concentrate on one specific term of the week, because our vocabulary has been really expanding throughout the year. So what we suggest, if you're interested in adding to that slide, is also to tell us what your headlines have been this year. What words came to mind? What were the top stories for you? That resonates with what Sean was just doing in the previous session with Future Swans and the other topic that came around COVID. But we would like here also to have your personal impression of what happened this year. what would be your personal headline of the year? I see a few things in the chat. Let me read that. Yeah, Rob is telling us we are now at the 13th edition of the wrap. Keep it up.
For anyone who just joined, I'm going to drop in the link to what we're working on together as a group. Sylvia, I love this project. You know, I'm talking about memory making later on, and I'm looking at it from the experiment that we started, that point of view. And it's nice to have an example result from the experiment that we work on together.
I will add it here, so we have it for reference also for the ones who want to see it.
Thank you. You click on the link I just put in the chat, you'll join us and help us journal and write together. Augustine did our first issue in the wrap in Spanish. That was a first record. Thank you again. We want to connect with the world. We're looking for other editors too that can write in any language to reach people. That's goal in life is to communicate and to make sense of what's going on in the news on a weekly basis with a little look back, because we believe that in order to look forward, we must look back.
Are you introducing your part of the conversation there, Rob? Was that a teaser?
A little bit of a teaser. We're always collaborating. Augustine, you know that. It's we get together in a room, all of a sudden all this beautiful art comes out, or results, or some of these events. We've got different parts of the guilds that do different things as well. Very unique. Each group has their own intent, just like this group has its own intent.
Let me make a real-time memory of our session. I'm adding our headshots here because I love that conversation we're having here. And feel free to do it all throughout the whole day. And let me go back a few slides back. Ah, I see some cats appearing on the picture. Someone wrote, start taking the red pill. I don't know what that means.
What does that mean, Lindsay?
Came from a session this morning, Wendy Elford. She sort of said it's a question of red pill or blue pill. You know, if you keep on taking the blue pill, you just keep on doing what you've always done, even though everything has changed. You take the red pill and you disconnect from the matrix and you look around and you say, wow, everything has changed. Why am I still doing everything the way I did it before? You know, and look at it all as an opportunity. And I believe I've been living on about 10 blue pills a day. So the red pill seems like a really great idea to me.
Love it. If you want to add also a quote or an image of the day, not necessarily a screenshot, it can be also what it means for you, what you take from that specific day, specific for us, but also maybe a day for you to reflect on what happened. It's a good opportunity to look back. What I've been doing in the precedent session, and it's more of an example because I would love it. I would love you to do it too. Is just take a few screenshots or quotes from what we heard during the session. Sorry, I couldn't wake up earlier, so I don't have the first session of the day. But Augustine, if you want to add about your session from this morning, also please feel free to add to it because I'm sure it was wonderful.
Oh, Sylvia, we recorded it for you, so you'll be able to see in the comfort of your own time zone and home with a nice glass of wine, perhaps, or maybe mineral water, you can watch all our morning's events too. Gordon did an excellent event on AI. Sean covered some new gray swans. Augustine?
Yeah, probably I took some screenshot of today's event because we were happy we were launching it in Spanish, and there were like 3 of us, and Rob was following along, and Lindsay was lost in translation, but we were there. We had fun. It was amazing to kick off the morning like that.
Wonderful. Yeah, so what I really invite you to do is around a topic, around a session, around a conversation, and that's something I actually do in real life. I love to have always a notebook with me and try to capture the moment of where I am. I used to do that in a real notebook, in real conference room also. So the idea is you recompose in a space, on a page, on a slide, different voices, different images. So first of all, it helps you, how could I say, anchor the memory. But also when you look back to it, what's interesting is you just not remember rationally what happened during that moment, but it really also brings back physical memories of that moment. The way you recompose, you're thinking back all the process you're reliving the process in which you created that page. So I think that's always a really good, interesting. There are a lot of benefits in doing journaling as for connecting to the people who are around. So here it's about maybe more business topics, but I really invite you to do it also on personal topics. When you're on vacation with people you love, when you're in a new country with things you are discovering, it's really a good way to connect with your environment. Oh, I see wonderful quotes arriving. So we suggested to add here quotes that you think are quite powerful. I see some from Dave Marvitz, Rob Salkowitz, Doyle Boyler, all wonderful SWAN members. So I suggest you take the time to read these quotes. Does anybody have a good voice for reading quotes? If someone wants to read them loud.
I like them in a Scottish accent.
You want to try?
I don't have a Scottish accent.
I'm not rising to the bait, Tyree. These are great quotes, though. We heard a lot of great stuff earlier today, more soundbitey as well that can go here. Love the idea of new jobs, like the AI ethicist or the AI philosopher. Maybe we can get a better quote from our recordings for those.
Yeah, it's a good point. We can go back to the recordings if we feel that they are really impactful quotes. And then you can also use them for different purpose, of course, afterwards. But I mean, here it's really also see the depth of our reflection. Like we are also these philosophers, I guess, all of us here.
Oh, so Carl Jung is now a Swanner. Excellent.
Thank you. I was uploading it and someone is working with that. I love this type of real-time collaboration. Feel free to embrace it.
Thank you.
And so as we continue to complete adding quotes from the day before time and now present where we are, we're going to transition and do our version of the Grey Swan alphabet. And let's see how many of these letters can we come up with things for in 5 minutes. Let's go.
So let's put a timer and let's all you can directly type in it, not use the chat, but you can, when you have a letter, just type in it.
WandaVision, yes.
So we've got 2 more minutes.
Doing a great job. Duolingo.
And that's time. We did it.
Yeah, and it's so diverse, like from profound matters to jokes. I love that. Inspiring.
This is very inspiring. And we have another one if you are coming up with additional ideas on slide 22. You can go ahead and add additional information.
Clubhouse.
And
This
and so one of the projects that Sylvia and I were so fortunate to work on was the Museum of the Pandemic Home and the artifacts that we have from that. Sylvia, you want to talk about these two slides before we write our letters?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a beautiful collaboration. There was 8 of us. I don't know if Sean is with us right now. Sean was, of course, with us as well. Vicky, Alexandra, Sheila, and so on. So that was a wonderful collaboration. What we were aiming at doing is really to try to capture, once again, the moments of this pandemic, but through objects that have become like very important in our life. And also the idea of the museum. I'm sorry, I'm bothered with the cats. The idea of the museum is also to keep them for future reference, because today they seem to be like so normal, or they have become quite normal, but when we write to ourselves 5 years from now, that's the next exercise. What will we keep of that moment? So journeying to the object, once again, is a good way to talk to our 5 senses. I'm sure when Vicky remembers the smell of that bread when looking at that picture, she really remembers what life was like during that moment. So that was a nice collection to do. I see that Gordon added a picture a little previously. I think he built that home for squirrels, that table for squirrels to come in. I think that's quite a fantastic idea. So if you want to add your ideas as well, we have more space. You can add also more layers, more pages if you want to. They tell so much about our life during this month, and the lack of hairdresser, the need to exercise more, like the investment in new machines, doing our own bread, sewing our own clothes, playing a lot of board games apparently. So really, I'm sure you might have in your pictures things, if you're not ashamed of sharing them, of course, you might have objects from this time that could really fit in our museum. And we have about 15 more minutes. And with Nicola, we had this idea of writing a time capsule. So I will leave you with explaining the rules.
Okay, so this is a point where we'll diverge from our shared slide deck that we've been using for our time together to write a letter that will come back to yourself in 5 years. And so if you're in the slide deck, you can click where it says, what about a letter to your future self? And if you click that, it'll open a letter for you. And we thought it would be fun to think about, what will 5 years from now look like for you individually? And then send it to the future and get it back in your email in the future. So we're going to take a few moments to do that. And I don't know if Sylvia has any music that she jams to as she journals, because both of us have found journaling and reflecting about the present, the past, and the future is very helpful to how we think and how we become the people we are. And so, yeah, we're going to take the next few minutes and write this letter to yourself. And you can add a selfie or a picture so that you have it and you remember exactly the moment that you wrote that letter. Thanks, Sylvia, for the background music.
I hope it's not too loud. It's not too. You let me know.
Can you guys put that link in the chat, the futureme.org, please?
Sure.
And Sylvia, we could come back, or Nicola, we could come back and do this later with some thought as well.
You can. I will say, in my experience of doing these letters to the future, a lot of times it's best in the moment than putting extra thought into it, because then we overthink.
Okay.
Versus flowing with what comes to mind.
All right.
But yes, the link will still be live.
I'm going through the process thinking that probably I wrote like a couple of lines. No, go with the music. I was just like seeing that 5 years into the future, a guidance of a couple of lines of insights like from today, like trusting the process. It might be like a wonderful thing to encounter sort of stuff, because 5 years ahead seem pretty much heavy. So having these words from today that they are fresh 1 year into the pandemic, it's gonna be invigorating. Thanks for this moment.
You're so welcome.
So when we put together the next yearbook for the Grey Swan Guild next year, this will be an input into the yearbook when we look back to the first ever Day of the Swan. I love how this is humanity, right? This is recursion. We begin an idea, an algorithm, and then we just repeat the function again, and then whatever we created is inside the function, and that can multiply or can give other messages as we have new context in the future. Beautiful.
Thank you for all the kind feedback. When we started this, the idea was really to both reflect throughout the day, but also to keep an archive for future reference. And I think if you can kind of have it going that way years after years, you can have like 20 years of Grey Swan in a few slides.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talked about was that in spite of all that's happening around the world, we've had a lot of joy in the guild in this year. And sometimes it's really hard to remember joy in the midst of the suffering that we see happening around the world, the racial unrest that we are having, etc. And so coming together for these 24 hours sets the stage that we can reflect and be with and hold the both and.
And I think our alphabet really reflects these both aspects, like the pain and the joy at the same time.
Exactly.
So as you continue writing your letter to your future self, we'll just go throughout the last slide. So if you want to populate them, add to them throughout the day and maybe later, here are some ideas of prompts. These beautiful postcards from the pandemic have been produced by Jill as part of our Wave 2 production. We have added a lens called liminal to the first 4 lenses: live, love, lead, and learn. So now we have liminal. And the idea is really to get these pictures, these images, these productions, creative productions, to show, to display how we've been changing personally throughout the year, how we felt the world has been changing throughout the year. So that's one of the projects we had at Grey Swan Guild. If you feel like you want to build your own postcard, I think that's a fantastic idea that Jill had. Another prompt you might want to use is the pandemic self-portraits. I think we might all have in our phones some pictures from that past year. And what can be interesting is for you, you don't need to share them with everybody else, but just for you to reflect on how you've been changing in the representation you've been doing of yourself, and how much you've been changing within yourself as well. Another prompt, and here I'm connecting with Dave Marvitz's idea of building, let's say, a collection of drawings from kids. We've been seeing a lot of kids' art during the pandemic. Some of them here are from my neighborhood. I was interested to see window boards, to see kids trying to put their drawings on the walls, to draw on the streets, etc. So if you want to add, and if you feel comfortable adding what your kids maybe or kids in your environment have been doing, it's also very nice to see what went through their minds throughout the pandemic to change perspective, not just our perspective, but the perspective of kids. So here are some of them. And finally, we would love to hear your wishes for the second year of the Grey Swan Guild. What do you wish us? We had a joke, I think, from Rob for April Fool's Day, with Grey Swan Guild having the Nobel. So maybe that's a wish for the long run, and maybe in 20 years, we will look back at these slides and think, hey, we weren't maybe not too far from that. So
that was one of the editors. It was, I don't know exactly who claimed the nomination in the future. Maybe that's just our future wish when there is a sense-making category.
But wishful thinking is a start. So please feel free to send us your wishes for Grey Swan Guild. If you want to celebrate pandemic heroes, also feel free to add to this one. Oh, I love some people have been starting adding to this. So the soundtrack, what helped you move on during the pandemic? Nicola, anything you want to share in terms of music maybe you've been listening to during the pandemic?
I've been listening to a lot more jazz during the pandemic. It's soothing, it's calming, and a lot of jazz concerts were digital in the pandemic. So it was also pretty nice to go to a concert on a Sunday or a Saturday that was not on Zoom. And so that's what has been keeping me jazzed in the pandemic music-wise.
Thank you for sharing. I see we're arriving at the end of our hour, so feel free to take a look to the other slides, the other prompts, the other idea. I've been watching thousands TV series. I think I could fill 60 pages of slides if I put mine. So feel free to put yours. I won't bother you with my TV series, but what have you been watching this year? How did you entertain yourself? Did you try new video games, etc.? Please share with us. If you've been writing poetry and maybe you've discovered some poet's talent here within the guild, we'd love to read your poetry pieces. If you developed new skills you want to share, please feel free to, or more visions. You can always create your own slides. You can include them in the overall presentation, in the overall journal. This is a beautiful picture by Alex de Carvalho. I really wanted to put it here. And then just build your own page. If you want to build just one page about your Grey Swan, as this person has been doing, please feel free to do so. And I will leave the last word to you, Nicola.
One second. So we started with gratitude and we wanted to end the session with gratitude in the same way that we started. And so our closing reflection is, what insights and discoveries personally have I gained that I'm thankful for?
And that, I think, ladies, brings us to time.
Yep.
It's been fantastic. Thank you very, very much. Never would have thought that we'd have quite so much fun. I'm sure everyone agrees. We've seen many, many great comments. And so this will be available for the 24-hour period of our session. So people
Yes,
Yes.
that's the idea.
Okay.
So yeah, please feel free to continue. We'll probably leave it on for a few more couple of days for the ones who want to work it over the weekend. But the idea is we will close it at some point as a kind of a definitive archive for this year. And that's also kind of a letter for the future. Maybe in 1 year, we will reopen it and say, okay, that's what last year was about. And if you enjoyed the experience, maybe next year we can conduct it again.
Well, thank you very much again from everybody here. And we're going.
Thank you all, and thank you, Nicola. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. Thank you, Sylvia. Augustine, are you here?
I am between rooms and I'm shutting down a little bit Clubhouse, which is running in the background. Great discussion with Louise, Sean, Howard Fields is there. And, you know, we are now on the top of the hour of our next event. Do you mind introducing the line, Lindsay?
Not at all, not at all. So thanks to everybody for being here. We'll continue to bring people in. Today we have Dr. Farah Farkan, who's here to speak about COVID-19 experiences in the emergency room. We're really excited to have her here. I believe this is based on a book. Yes, Rob, would you like to?
Sure. I just wanted this quick story on we met Dr. Farkan. We did a second wave as a publication in the Guild. Is what we do. We do publications and creations. And as we were going through the people sending things in, something was novel and different.